Welcome. My name is Peter J. Redding, and I am a master coach, a master trainer of coaches, and have been involved and excited about who am I? I mean, it's such an existential question. I think that every human being goes through from the time that they come to a level of consciousness and maybe even a level of discontent at some time point in their life. Who am I? Why am I here? How does my life make a difference? And so, welcome to this class. Welcome to this live stream. We're going to be, let me just get this going here, set this over here. Well, okay, fantastic. Yeah. Today we're going through process number 2 of CoreSELFie. Process number 2 is talking about, all right, so now that I have articulated in process number 1 the elements of who I am, and if you haven't gone through process number 1 yet, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to go through process number 1 before listening to anything else I say here or anything that we're going to go do in today's session. Because this is kind of like a spoiler alert by going through process number 2 before you go through process number 1, and it will have an impact on trying to think your way through process number 1 when you get back to that. So I implore you, I beg you to just go to the recorded session that I did last week. It's CoreSELFie. It's on YouTube recording. It's on Facebook recording. You'll have access to it on our website, CoreSELFie.com. And go through the Series 5, Episode 2, Process number 1. Process number 1 is the self-discovery process. If you have not done that, and you're listening live today, I'm going to invite you to not listen to this, as strange as that sounds, but go back and do that process and then come back to this one. It will be recorded, okay? And if you just came into the middle of this series and you're listening to this one as the first one, again, implore you to go back to session number 2 that goes through your self-discovery process. Okay, and we call it process number 1. This is going to be process number 2, is the validation process. And this is exciting because the opportunity here is, did what I discovered about myself, right, in the self-discovery process, is it true? Is it valid? Is it make sense to who I am, who I was designed to be, who I was created to be, or not, as the case may be? Okay, so that's our exploration for today. Let me get my Excel spreadsheet. No, let me go to my PowerPoint. Oh my God, I love it when technology works as well as that just did. Fantastic. If you have any questions, by the way, about the validation process specifically today, put that into the chat box. I'll try to get to questions. We have a lot of very technical things to go through today in terms of the validation process, but would love to see your questions in the chat box, whether it's on the YouTube chat box. And welcome, YouTube viewers. This is the first time that we're live streaming to YouTube. So keep your fingers crossed that it all works well. And hopefully the audio and the video is a higher quality by switching over to YouTube. So, yeah. Okay, so episode 1, we talked about the overview of what is going on with the CoreSELFie. Why are we doing this? What's the purpose of this? What's the benefit of doing this? Episode number 2, which was last week, is the one I was just referring to, is the CoreSELF Discovery Process itself. And again, it's meant to go underneath the radar of your linear brain, your conditioned brain, your programmed brain. And that's why it's so important to do that one first. So again, if you haven't done that one first, just stop listening to this one, put it on pause, go back to that one. Today, process number 2, the validation process. And you see there, we have 4 more sessions after today for the next 4 weeks, next month. Tuesdays for same time, 10 o'clock USA Eastern. We'll be going through the alignment process, 30-day tracking process, mastery assessment process, and the 10 levels of assessment process and alignment. Okay. So, as you know me, I love my quotes. To be or not to be, that is the question that my good friend Bill, better known as William Shakespeare, said 150 years ago or more, 250 years ago. To be or not to be, that is a question. To be or not to be what? I mean, when I first heard this in, English literature class in high school, it was like, what is he talking about? And I finally figured out, I think probably 20 years after that, oh, to be or not to be yourself. Okay, so that was, and that's for me, it was an unconscious decision between the ages of 17 and 37. It was like, I'm busy working, thank you very much, don't bother me. At 37 in midlife crisis, it was, who the heck am I? Why am I here? What am I meant to be contributing to the world? How or where does my life make a difference? And so it is an age-old question that still is as valid today for every human being on the planet as it was in 1600. My updated version of that is to be your core self or not be your core self. That is the question. So last week we talked about a lot of other kinds of selves that I am. I am a Caucasian self. I am a male self. I am an American self, and so on. But those are all external things. Those are things that other people have defined me, or my birthright, if you will, has defined me. That is not a particular choice, right? But what's deep down inside? What has my creator put inside of me at birth, maybe before birth, that I am not aware of, or that I have ignored, or that I have overlooked, or I have not explored? I haven't rediscovered it. It's better, first process of discovery process, actually a rediscovery process. Going back again and seeing what is there. And I believe that it was there at birth. I believe it's there now, whether I'm living it or not, by the way. It's still there in all of its brilliance, all of its magnificence. And I believe that that's in every single human being. I do. Again, whether you're honoring that, not honoring it, living it, not living it, aware of it, not aware of it, it's still there. It's still operating. Maybe at a diminished capacity because it's been buried by so many other conditions of here's who you are supposed to be. And what we talk about today is, how can I validate? How can I know that that's really what Peter's talking about? Core self, core self. Let's find out. So people that have gone through the self-discovery process that I keep referring back to from last week, and if you've stuck in somehow and not gone through self-discovery process number 1, stop listening. Go back and do core self-discovery. It'll take you 10 minutes, right? So it's not a big deal. It'll take you 10 minutes to do that. Then come back and resume this one. But there's 3 reactions that I've seen for the thousands and thousands of people that have gone through this now. Because I've been doing this work for the last 26 years now, right? 26 years I've been doing this, or a version of this. The first reaction is, wow, yeah, this really is me. This is my original self. And I haven't been in touch with or articulated that or written it down on a piece of paper for my entire lifetime. I've had people that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s say that to me. Okay. They have been so busy with the busyness of life. It could be the business, but it could be family, it could be health, it could be elder care, it could be all kinds of things that they're going through right now, their own care, their own challenges. They've not focused on who they are at their core. And that's why I call it core self. The other reaction that can happen is there is no way that all of this can be truly me. I have been searching for X number of years or decades in a lot of cases where, probably the average age of my client or student is anywhere between 35 and I'll say 50, probably 80% of them in that range. And so they are saying to me, after going through this self-discovery, this isn't me. I know myself to be somebody different than what is reflected in this discovery process. And I've actually looked for my life purpose. I've looked for my core values. I've looked at my natural gifts and talents or natural strengths. And they're not reflected here. Some of them are here. Some of them are here, but this, wow, no. And this can't possibly be done in just a few minutes. I mean, I've been doing diligent work and exploration for the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. This is too simplistic. It cannot be valid. Okay. And so I got tired of hearing that over the years and the decades that I've been doing this work. So I finally came up with a validation process, which we're going to go into today, to determine your words, you come up with the words in the first place. I'm going to have you do a self-validation. So I'm not going to look at it and say, oh yeah, I think that is you. I mean, so who cares what I think as far as your specific words that are unique to you. The other reaction goes to the other side of, wow, this is too overwhelming. It can't be me. I'm not that person. And I'm certainly not living that what's on the page right now in my life. It's, I mean, bits and pieces maybe, or I stumble over it, or when I have a chance to, really make a conscious decision about how I want to live my life, maybe I touch on it, but it's too grandiose. The last one here is too grandiose to live up to. It's like, whew, I'm so far away from that. I can't tell you, Peter. Well, and I'll start with the grandiose part. That's the complaint department at god.com. I don't know if there is a god.com, but if there isn't, there should be. Your creator made you grandiose. Your creator created a perfect, spectacular, awesome human being to do something that's unique with people that I will never come in contact with, and the other 7.5 billion people on the planet will never come in contact the way that you do, in your unique way, to those that you are here to support, that you are here to that you're here to contribute to, that you're here to inspire, perhaps, or care for, or enlighten, or make their life better in some form or fashion. That's just the way your God made you. And whether you believe in that or not, God, or the concept of God or creator, that's just the way that human beings have evolved. So take that part up somewhere else. What I can do, though, is go into this validation process in terms of, how do I know that this is somewhat accurate, somewhat valid, or a whole lot valid. Okay, so that the work that we're going to do today specifically has to do with all of these kinds of questions. Wherever you are after doing that self-discovery process, or the people that you expose the self-discovery process to, when they come back to you as their coach, okay, as their formal coach or informal coach or friend or spouse or sibling or neighbor or colleague at this association or that association that you bring this to, and I highly encourage that you do bring all of this work to everybody that you know, and help me get to the first 1 billion people to have them find out who they really are by 2025, and then the rest will follow, right? The other 6.5 billion. Big job. And that's my work to do. It is. Okay. Self-validation process. I'm going to take you to an Excel spreadsheet. It is now available. It was just uploaded like half an hour ago, literally, to CoreSELFie.com, CoreSELFie.com. And this is free download. Is for public consumption. You have permission to copy that as long as you don't change it. And you give it away for free. Okay, that's the deal. You can't charge for it. But the self-validation has an Excel spreadsheet on it. The first worksheet, and I'm going to actually take you to the Excel spreadsheet right here in the magic of Zoom and YouTube Live, where you'll fill out your name and date. You'll fill in CV as core values, LP, life purpose, NG&T, natural gifts and talents, or core strengths is another way that I refer to that often. So NG&T, natural gifts and talents. On worksheet 1, you'll fill in 2 times of your life, one of which is, I'm trying to get it at the ends of the spectrum here, like the most miserable that I have been in terms of the way I was being, and the most proud that I was, regardless of results, regardless of outcome. This is an inner look in terms of the first one. Let's and you don't have to dwell on this. I don't dwell on, what's not working, as anybody that knows me knows me. I always focus on the upside, the positive. What are you moving towards, as opposed to what are you trying to run away from, etc. But for this exercise, I want you to think of a time in your life when you were ashamed of yourself. If you look back on yourself and go, wow. Yeah, not proud of that one at all. I was perhaps being abusive. I was perhaps being overhanded, or underhanded rather. I was trying to get away with something that I had no right to get away with. I was being vindictive. It might have been in an addiction state of mind and being, where I didn't care about anybody else. I was just caring about myself, and I was angry to the point of being abusive. Any of those kinds of things. Just one time in life, and I'm only going to have you pick out one word, please. All right, so think about one word, and you can do that right now. In fact, it's going to make it easier when we go to the Excel spreadsheet. And it could be a year of your life, or it was like when I was 22 years old, and that's enough. And you're the only one that has to know this. I do not want you to share this publicly on this forum. It is not necessary. But just pick one word as a kind of an anchor for, first year of marriage, last year of marriage, last 3 months of marriage. When I was addicted to blank, when I was addicted to work, alcohol, drugs, sex, shopping, pick your poison, whatever you are addicted to or had been addicted to. If that's the kind of the low ebb of your beingness. And on the other end of the spectrum is when I was incredibly proud of how I showed up, who I was as a human being. And it might be because I was compassionate when it wasn't called for. It wasn't mandatory that I be compassionate, but I reached out to somebody that maybe I didn't even know from the goodness of my own heart. I was being truly authentic. I was loving. I felt great about myself. And again, not because of the outcome, not because, I was featured in the magazine that the photographer happened to snap a picture at that moment of my life and I got lots of accolades. That has nothing to do with it. It's an internal feeling of, you know what? I'm really, really proud of how I maybe stood up to somebody that was being bullied and stood up to the bully. Back on the first one, if it's an ashamed, maybe I was the bully and I was abusive. I wasn't considerate. I wasn't anything that I was designed to be, basically. And the proud one is I stood up maybe to that, another individual, obviously, but stood up to that bully and intervened and said, this person does not deserve to be abused. Yeah, and I may have gotten punched in the face, by the way. It's not, again, not the result of it, but the fact that I had the wherewithal, the mind, the willingness to be that individual. Okay. So, and again, pick a word. It could be a date. It could be just, again, one word, bully, bullying, and, stood up to bully. It could be the two words on the two ends of the spectrum for you. It could be, first divorce, nasty, angry, abusive, lying, anything that might be appropriate for you, but just pick the one word. All right. And then fill out ratings, the 6 ratings from 1 to 10. All right. So those are the things that you can be filling out. Let's go to the Excel spreadsheet now, if I can get the magic of my own computer to cooperate with me. And I need to get this out of my way. Just give me 1 second here. All right. So here we go. Ta-da. All right, so let me move over here a bit. Okay, so this is an Excel spreadsheet. For those of you that are not familiar with Excel spreadsheets, there are 2 tabs on the bottom of this. One that says self-validation. I'm down here in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And then the second one, it's kind of in a goldish color with black print. And now it turns to a green print. It says validation results. That's the second sheet. So there's two sheets on this Excel spreadsheet. You can do the first one first. And I've programmed it so that it'll all just transfer over. So for example, you'll see up here, the date on the second sheet says 0 Jan 00, because there's nothing in that space yet. It says zeros results up here in this sector up here, because nothing's been put in there. As soon as I put in Peter, my name, into the first sheet, then that will show up over here automatically. So you don't have to worry about it. You're welcome. And then same thing with true with all the other the other parts of this form that will be filled out again automatically when you fill it out the first time, so you don't have to repeat it. So let's go back to the first sheet. What you're going to need if you don't have this form in front of you right now is your self-discovery sheet from last week or whenever you did that. If you're listening to the recording to me right now, take out your self-discovery sheet. You'll be utilizing some of that information on this validation form. Okay. So this validation form, when you download this, and again, you can download this at CoreSELFie.com, CoreSELFie.com. This is process, it says it right here, process number 2. CoreSELFtech validation process. V8.4 is just a version. So as we get updates to this or corrections to this as things come through, then I'll be updating this periodically. So right now, today, we're working with version 8.4. I've also programmed this sheet so that it can only be only the things in that are meant to be filled out can be filled out. If I try to fill out or change a different part of this form, it won't let you. It's just that cell has been blocked basically. But for this one, first name, all right, so we're going to put in Peter. There we go. Today's date is 24 August 2021. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm then going to go down to where it has, well, let me inform you about the structure of the form here itself. These boxes here are the instructions for filling this out. So if you forget what I say, you can just read it on the form when you download it. And the first one here, step 1. Oops, see, now that says that I'm trying to fill out a part of it that I can't fill out. Step 1 is to fill out cell B13 through B17, and they're all color matched. So this is kind of a brownish color, and you'll notice down here, these are the brown boxes that are going to be filled out with your 5 core values, So let me just put in a couple of these for myself, and I'll take out my self-discovery sheet here. There we go. There we go. So my first core value is freedom. So I type that in the first box. I go to the second box and it's creative. Okay, I'm not going to do all of them just for the sake of timing, but you get the idea. Put your 5 in there. Another one is retreat. And these don't have to make sense to anybody else, by the way. This is strictly for you and for your edification and guidance and direction in life. So once I put those 5 in there, step 2 is to put in my I am statement in the cell below, in cell B21. So for those, again, that are not familiar with Excel spreadsheets, you see the column B is up here that I've got my cursor at. And B21, this is, what's that? It's like B13. Yeah, that's B13. So I'm going to cursor down 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And there I am. I am is a blue box, which corresponds with the blue. Well, you don't see it now anymore, but it's the blue instructions up on top. So again, I'll just put the beginning of my I am statement in here as I am uniquely human and spiritually one. Spiritually. Actually, this would be spiritually, Peter. So there's no spell check on this, by the way, so that you're on your own in that regard, but you get the idea. Spir, S-P-I-R, spiritually one, in order to create a bodacious flourishing of life. Okay. So that takes care of that cell. The next cell is a couple more further down on the spreadsheet. And let me just scroll down so you can see it, where it's got kind of a an off green. And these are core strengths. This is the 5 core strengths that came out in your self-discovery process. So I'm going to, again, just put a couple of mine in there. Create safe space. Next one down from there is listening with honor. And I'll put a third one in. I will put very conceptual. Oops. Okay. So you put those 5 in there. Now I'm going to come back to the part that we talked about in the previous PowerPoint slide of step 4 is picking a shame time that you were not at all proud of who you were being. Okay, again, just one word as a reminder for yourself. And I'm going to put that in cell E12. So this is the column of E. And I'm going to come down here where it says step 4, again, color coded. And step 4, I'm just going to put in that cell. I'll just put, again, just random, and I'm not going to share my private life, at least that piece of it, because I'm ashamed of it, frankly. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to put 1985. I don't even remember where I was in 1985, but I'll put 1985. That's the example of that one. And for step 5, you'll see when I just put in 1985, it reminds me 1985 showed up here, it showed up here, and it showed one more place further down the screen that we'll get to. Again, already programmed. When I was really, really proud of myself, and let me just put in here 2021, because I'm really proud of myself right now. Yeah. And then again, that shows up down here. It's just a reminder, and it could be a word. It doesn't have to be a number. So if I put here, I'll just put CoreSELF. I'll put CoreSELFing there because I'm sharing with the world CoreSELFing.com. Now you don't have to put that in there. That's just, I'm just really, really proud of this work that I'm doing right now and providing it to the general public. No fee, no cost. This is my way of giving back. This is my way of making the planet a better place to live. So I'm truly proud of what I'm doing right now, literally. Okay. So, and you can write any word for yourself that would be a reminder so that when you go through the rest of this exercise that you can go, oh yeah, okay, so now I know. So once I've done that and I enter that, and then I come down here to the next cell, you just notice that this changed from 2021 to CoreSELFie.com. And again, CoreSELFie.com. That's again programmed. You don't have to retype it in. Now, ta-da! We come to the valuation, and this is your self-validation, self-assessment. What I'm asking myself here is, in this time in 1985, when I was not very proud of myself, to what degree, here's a question over here. I was honoring my being my 5 core values to what degree from 1 to 10? All right, so in this group, it's from 1 to 10. This has to do with my core values that I just entered over here. And when I was in this place in time, if I can think back to that, was I being the essence of freedom? Was I being the essence of creative? Was I being the essence of retreat? Retream. Like I said, this doesn't have a spell check on it. So let me retreat. Let me see if that, there we go. The essence of retreat. To what degree was I being these 5 values at that point in time in 1985 when it was not very proud? And on a scale of 1 to 10, don't put 0, by the way, because mathematics goes haywire with 0. So that'll screw everything up. So it's 1 to 10 intentionally. I'm going to leave it at 1. If I could put it at 0, I would, but it's 1. Okay. Same question now in terms of now that I'm doing this work in CoreSELFie.com, preparing for this, literally for this today, and all the 30 classes I did earlier this year, and the ones that I have planned for the next year and a half. But right now, today, CoreSELFie on a scale of 1 to 10, am I showing my sense of freedom, being free, being creative, having a sense of retreat? For me, 10. It just is 10. Okay, so I put 10 in there. Now, I'm going to jump forward to the second page here. I'll come back to finish this in a second, but let me show you what's happening over there on the second page. First of all, we're seeing Peter up there, okay, because it's captured that. So this is Peter's results for the 24th of August, which I also entered in previously on the previous. You'll see my values. 3 of the values that I put in there. You'll see my life purpose in there. And if I scroll down a little bit, you'll see the 3 natural gifts and talents that I put in there. You'll also see I was not very proud. 1985 is still showing up. CoreSELFie.com is showing up. And the numbers that I just put in there is 1 and 10. 1 and 10. All the other ones have not been changed yet. They're still 1 and 1, 1 and 1. Over here. And so it's starting to already calculate. This is a true test of my core values because they've gone from a very low score to a very high score of my beingness. My words, your words will be absolutely unique to you. The combination of words will be absolutely unique to you. Now, if I try to change the score on this sheet, I can't do it. So if I say, well, maybe it was a 2, it's going to give me a signal that this is a protected cell, and you'll get a signal that comes up that looks something along these lines. Okay. And so you just hit, okay, got it. Yep, I remember. Peter told me that, but I forgot. So I'm going to go back to my self-validation sheet, which is this sheet. I'm going to continue my, oh, and if I wanted to change that, by the way, okay, so now that I'm back at the self-validation sheet, I can actually change that. So if yeah, maybe it's really a 2. I was kind of being too harsh on myself. All right, so be it. This is a sheet that you can change. You can't change it, the second one that shows the validation results. So I changed it to a 2. All right. Continuing on, I am uniquely human and I am spiritually at 1 in order to create a bodacious flourishing of life. Well, back in those 1985, that would have been it would probably been like a -5, but don't use -5. Just use 1 to 10. So I'm going to leave it at, I'm going to again leave it at a 1. Now, am I being this and fulfilling this part of my, here's a question right here. I was fulfilling my core life purpose. or I am living my core life purpose, because this is it's not past tense for me, but if you take something from the past, then it reads right. I was fulfilling my core life purpose to what degree? From 1 to 10. Back then, not. Here, again, I'll put a 9 just to be different, but it's really a 10 for me, but I'll put a 9 in there just to show you that it's picking up the exact number that you're putting in there. And now for my core strengths, I was using my core strengths of these 5 in this place. Not so much, right? Not so much in the bad, not proud time, but it might have been, let's say it's a 3. Yeah, I actually was using one of them in that time, maybe unconsciously, maybe abusively, but well, if it was abusive, then it wouldn't be that strength. Right now, I'm using create a safe space, listening with honor, conceptual, and connecting the dots, and all the other things that I do that I've been naturally good at since I can remember, right? I had that strength at birth. I still believe that. It may not have been developed. It might not have even been conscious, frankly. But yep, I had it at birth. I have it now. I'll have it until I die. And in this instance of my life, CoreSELFie.com, I'm living that. And again, I'll put an 8 in there, just for the sake of having a different number. Okay, so now I've completed all of the things. I'm going to go back over here now to the validation. So what I just did is I clicked on this validation link down below, bottom left-hand corner. And what's coming up is a whole series of logic that says, is this test true? Is this validation piece true? And it says for core values, I'm right here now, right? In this block, it's showing this is valid, true, values test, validated. Woohoo! All right, fantastic. Yay, Peter. Now, if I scroll down, the next one is core life purpose. It says my life purpose test is also true. It's been validated. My core strengths, true. Strengths test, validated. So those are the first 3 that I look at. True, 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 valid, valid, valid. Fantastic. Now, just below that, in these cells, right, that I'm highlighting right now with my cursor. Okay, individual test 1. Validation number 1, yes. What this is asking is one of the 3 above have been validated. So if 2 of these above, if one of these was true, and it doesn't matter which one, but the other 2 are not true. Okay, and I'll show you how that shows up in a second when I change my numbers, just for the sake of the demonstration here. If one is true and the other 2 are not true, I will still get my first test is saying, yeah, it's true. One of the above was true, the other 2 maybe were not. The second test down here, individual test number 2, it says here, 2 of the 3 above are validated. So the first one is a start to know your core self. The second one, if test 1 and test 2 are both valid, it's a really great start to know who your core self is. And the third one is, if all 3 above are validated, absolutely, categorically, your core self. I mean, is that great or what? So yes, validated. Number 3 is yes, absolutely your core self. 3 for 3. Woohoo! Is a big woohoo. Now, the other tests that are taking place on the other side here, and let me explain this just a tad bit. My 2 and my 10 are being calculated and weighted, a weighted factor of 30%. You'll see the 30% over here in this column. Okay, see me highlighting it there. So I multiply it times 3. So now I have a score for my core values of 6 and 30. Okay, that's a weighted, after the weighted average of multiplying it times 3, which means that core values makes up 30% of my ability to have a sense of fulfilled life and a fulfilled life. My life purpose is 50%. So I'm using a 50% calculation here, and you'll see it highlighted over here with my cursor. 50% of my total beingness, my total core selfness, if you will, is going to be, I'm going to have a sense of fulfillment, and 50% of that is coming from doing the work I'm here to do. Now, you could argue that it's more than that. It could be more than 50%, but I've tested this, again, 1,000 times with my clients and students over the years, and 50% seems to be a really good weighted average for that. 30% for values. Who am I being? Core purpose is, what am I doing? Am I actually doing the work that I'm here meant to be doing, or am I doing something else? Which, again, first too many years of my life I was, all right, busy off doing something else. 50% has to do with that. So I'm multiplying the 1 and the 9 that I put in from the previous. That multiplies down to 5 and 45. 1 times 5, 9 times 5, so on. And again, we have left 20%. So a lot of you have gone through like strength finders, and it's okay. It's not as unique as this process is for you. But for me, it's 20%. If I'm using those strengths, but I'm using it to do other things that is not my life purpose, then I get 20% satisfaction, frankly, out of doing the kinds of things that I'm good at. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, but for whom? Am I doing it for those that I'm supposed to be doing it for, or not? So that's 20%. So now you get the whole 100%. You get 30%, 50%, 20% of the 3 factors. These multiply down out to 6 and 16, which are these factors down here, 6 and 16. And then just simply add them up. This is just arithmetic at this stage. So if I add the 3 up in the not so proud moment of my life, I get 17 out of 100, basically. This over here, I get 91 out of 100 with the numbers that I've used. And you know, the maximum you can get is 100. The least you can get is 10, because if I have 1 in each category multiplied times the factors of 3, 5, and 2, that will equal 10. So the lowest number I can have in this square will come out to 10. The highest one here is 100. Now there's 3 tests here that I go through. Test number 1 is the higher number 100% higher than the lower number? Well, if I take 100% of 17, it would be 17. 17 and 17 is 34. Yes, is 91 higher than 34? And it's all calculated for you. You don't have to remember any of that. It's validated. So I have validated for what I call a composite test 1 of, I am 100% sure that my higher version of myself that I've defined is way better than when I wasn't being myself. Composites number 2, I have a yes, yes here. And I have it because, is this number 17 lower than 33? Obviously, yes. So it says yes. Is 91 above 66 in the top third? I call this the bottom third, top third differential. Is there enough separation between these 2 events and who I was being, how I was living my life at that juncture, that point in life? And 2 big yeses for that. So those also are validated. The third and final one is a composite test number 3 that is it not just higher, but is it 150% higher? And I just like this one because it takes the highest minus the lowest divided by the lowest. And if you're arithmetically inclined, then you can validate that that's actually what we're doing here. And I'm 435% higher than my lowest. Okay. So over here, it's going to say again, well, that's validated from the individual test. These side ones are individual. This block in here, this whole block is kind of a separate, it's like 6 or 3 more ways of cutting the data and seeing if it's valid or not. So if I'm getting yes, 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 valid, valid, valid all the way through this, then I am spectacularly accurate in terms of my own self-discovery process. Yeah. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just change this. And let's say that 1985, I say, you know what? I was actually living my life purpose here to a degree of 7. Okay. And this one's higher, it's at 9, but okay. And my values up here, yeah, the result wasn't good, or the result was really good, even though I was being nasty. I ended up getting a raise, or I ended up getting out of a contract, or I ended up, again, finagling my way out of something, you know, not particularly real ethically, perhaps, but unethically. And so I give myself a score here of, yeah, okay, I'm going to give myself a score of 7. Now, let's go back over to the results page and see what that does to the validations. Okay, so first of all, the validation for values is false. That something went haywire here. And it says try a new high and low. In other words, a not so proud. You pick this circumstances in life that's not demonstrating, you know, the worst of you and the best of you. You know, it's like a Dickens novel. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the best of me. It was the worst of me. A 7 and a 9 is not enough of a differential to validate that, you know, this life purpose is that. What my experience is, by the way, is that it probably has nothing to do with the actual self-discovery process as much as the key factor here are these 2 things here. The not so proud and the proud, what you've entered here in the first sheet. So, you know, when were you nastier, I guess, or when were you less of yourself? When were you more of yourself? What are you really proud of? And pick 2 different ones to recalculate, go back and look at this in terms of, yeah. So I wasn't being I wasn't being these things. I wasn't fulfilling my life purpose. In fact, it might be just the opposite. Is a detriment to my life purpose. But this will auto calculate. Now this one's true still. You know, my core strengths in this particular instance for the 2 that I picked out is still true. Okay. But this will start dictating, okay, so one of these were valid, the other 2 were not. It was less than 3. It was less than 2. That's not lower. This is still higher than 66. So that's going to say yes, but this one is lower than 33 and so on. Okay. And I am almost to the end of the hour here. So let me just go back to my PowerPoint if I can do that. Pull that back up. Okay, so we've talked about the worksheets. We've talked about the validations. We've talked about seeing it on the Excel spreadsheet itself. Here are the tests that we just went through. Core values validated, life purpose validated. Yeah. Core strengths validated. 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. You saw all of those things. And then also the composite tests. Composite test 1, 2, and 3 that we saw there. How and why it works. Here's my sense of this. It works because you select the time or the event from a life spectrum of ashamed versus proud. It's a weighted impact that has been assigned to it. When you are proud of that proud moment, there is an internal sense of feeling good, right, aligned, natural. It's what brings you a sense of fulfillment. In fact, that may be a better question in terms of ashamed or proud. It's like, when did you feel absolutely unfulfilled? It's like, why the heck am I here? Why am I living? Life is miserable. I'm living a life of grief and aggravation and anger and upset. I have no sense of I'm living a fulfilled life. Versus, again, the proud moment of I'm so full of what I'm meant to be full of. I'm full of contribution. I'm full of gratitude. I'm full of compassion. I'm full of who I was designed to be by my creator. Again, versus what does not bring fulfillment. So these are the underlying tools of these choices of ashamed and proud. And what I've found over the years, and like I say, I've been doing this for 25 years, 26, is when I am ashamed, I'm beside myself. You know, the old saying, I'm just beside myself. Well, yeah, because I'm not being myself. I'm trying to be somebody else. And it's not working. I'm not proud of who I was. I'm reacting instead of acting who I'm meant to be. That's why it's so powerful. When it doesn't validate, again, self-select a time of how you were being. Most likely the 2 times were selected on the results outcomes. So I see a lot of people that select, yeah, the results were good here and not good here. So they were based on the results or the outcomes and not who I was being in those two circumstances, the juxtaposition or the end of the 2 spectrums. So make 2 new selections and then go back and re-evaluate it against your core values like purpose, natural gifts, and talents. We have 2 minutes for questions. What have you learned about yourself? So let me just get out of this altogether. All right. So I know that is probably a lot to consume right now. Any burning questions that I have time to get, I will get to. Can you repeat? I have validation if. Yeah, I have validation if those 6 things that we just went through in a validation show up as validated. Yeah. And that will auto calculate for you. Sanjeev's, hi Peter, please show the full screen. Thank you. Okay, got it. If I am validated, then I am spectacularly validated in my self-discovery of my core self. Absolutely, that's the whole purpose of this. A lot of people say, how do I know this is true for me? And so this is the answer to that. And if people are sort of on the fence about this and say, well, how do I really know? It looks okay, it looks good, but how do I know in 20 minutes that I did this self-discovery process, Peter, or Sanjeev, or Naomi, or whoever's doing it with them? How do I know that this is really true for me? How can I count on this being my true north, my true compass, my what I need to bring into the rest of my life for my major decisions? Take them through the validation process and have them prove to themselves that, oh my God, This really is me. It may not be the way I'm living right now because of, you know, a million other decisions that have taken place earlier in life that has gotten me to this point. But this is my true north. This is my compass. This is my inner compass, my inner guidance that's trying to speak to me and say, when you align your life, your plans, your decisions, your actions, your next steps, your goals, your aspirations, et cetera, with these things, these three things, again, core values, life purpose, natural gifts and talents, you're going to make better decisions. You are going to feel better about yourself. You're going to feel more validated and know that you're doing the work that you're meant to be doing. You're being who you're meant to be being. This will change your life, guaranteed. And you don't have to quit your day job. You don't have to quit your relationship. You know, you don't have to say, okay, so, you know, I've got the light now. I'm going to change everything, you know, from today to tomorrow. That's not what I advocate. What I do advocate is to take a look at decisions that are coming up or goals that you have in place right now for like a year from now. It's the work we're going to do next week, by the way. So come back next week. We're going to go through that, you know, that 1 year goal. I want to make enough money to buy a second house. I want to make sure that my kids get into good universities, not bad things in and of themselves, any of them, but are they congruent to what you're meant to be doing, what you're meant to be contributing, or to what degree? And then how can I morph that, modify that, edit that? Yeah. Well, I find different values if I do self-discovery process again and again. That's actually a great question that comes from Neelam. Excuse me. The answer to that is they might be a little bit different, but the essence is going to be virtually the same. If you've been able to go deep in the first exercise, I actually have clients that I've done this with 6 and 10 years ago, and they haven't changed. We will add some natural gifts and talents to that as we go forward. There's actually a longer version of this whole process that my trained coaches can do with you or for you. If you're interested in doing a deeper dive into this work, you can go to coachforlife.com, and go to the Hire a Coach. And those are some of our certified graduates that still do this work and do the deeper work of going through these three processes at a much deeper level. Highly encourage that if you're willing to do a deeper dive. Yeah. Here's my sense of the second part of this question is that once they're in you by your creator, they don't change. So to the degree that I am cognizant or aware or have articulated that deeper self, core self, they don't change. Not over a lifetime. And maybe the only thing that doesn't change on the planet. It's not affected by COVID. It's not affected by travel or not travel. It's not affected by the job I'm in. It's not affected by my age. I had these things in me when I was 10, even though I was unaware of it. Through most of my corporate career, which I was unaware of. And now at my 70s, it's still absolutely valid. Yeah. Okay. So with that, I'm going to say, show up for next week. We're going to be talking about how to do the alignment process with this. And please bring this out to everybody that you love. With that, be safe. God bless. Namaste.
Namaste.